Everybody, what's going on? Eric here, and this is my reaction to Night of Champions last night. Now, I'm going to pause right here, just going to say real quick that the normal format that I'm going to try to do for these wrestling predictions videos as well as reaction videos, I'm going to try and, I want to say 48 to 72 hours in between the two. I don't want it to be, I don't want the reaction video to be too early, but I don't want it to be too late either. I want to have a minute, to really let it sink in and maybe go over some highlights because I'm really trying not to let my initial feelings um, dictate how the whole thing really feels because you never know. I mean, you're watching a wrestling match and you're obviously upset because you something happened you didn't want to happen, and you're upset, and then the next day you're thinking to yourself, you're like, you know what, it wasn't that bad, and that's what I'm trying to do. But honestly, as I'm looking at the clock now and realizing this is really late, I'm realizing that I wasn't too far off. Granted, some of the predictions I made were not accurate, but as far as how I felt the night went, as far as talent goes and the amount of decent matches we got, I was fairly happy. I mean, there were some good matches. There's no doubt about that. The only thing that really hurt the whole thing was the finish, as well as I think one other match. But I'll get into that in a second. But so yeah, Night of Champions 2014. In my prediction mode video for this, I had said that I was going to give it, I think, like a B or a B minus. I'm gonna hold it at a B minus, and the only thing that really could have, jumped it to the next level was like some different execution on a lot of things, like how they would have ended. One more thing, really quick. Anyone who's following the product and who would like to debate me on anything I have to say, with the following comment: well, Roman Reigns is out of the picture, therefore they had to change a lot. I'm like, that debate can be made because, again, we don't know what they had planned. Thankfully, because I know for a fact I have family and friends who have had issues with hernias before, it can get really bad. So I'm very happy that Roman was able to get. Sorry, like I said, it's getting late. I was glad that he was able to get the surgery and he's doing well. And they said that he'll be back soon. Hopefully, that this surgery will help him in ring, as well as maybe general, maybe like attitude on the microphone, because when you're in that much pain, obviously you're not going to be in the best of mood. So I'm expecting I'm expecting he'll come back a much different, much more refreshed person. I have a lot of positivity on that one. Now let's get into Night of Champions. I might jump around. I don't remember exactly how the whole night went per se, so if I'm off by a match or two, I do apologize. It was weird. The pre-show didn't have a match, which was a little odd. First time it's done that in a while. They had a peep show thing and some banter with Jericho and Christian and Orton, and I was like, that's cool for a minute. We know Jericho can talk, and Christian, he can generate a laugh, but with an Orton, it's just like it's stuff we've seen before. I would have liked to see a match like anything, just like a nice little tune-up match or something. I mean, there are plenty of people that could have easily have done something. Like, you could have had a warm-up match between like R-Truth and Damien Mizdow or something, and then you could have had Ziggler and the Miz outside cheering him on. Could have had could have had one of them go over clean, and that would have led into the match later, which I'll get into. But anyway, no match in the pre-show. Little shocked by that. Hopefully, it's not going to be a more permanent thing. Those of you who are subscribed to the network like I am, I would expect there to be wrestling on a pre-show, but you know, I guess it just means we have to be a little more vocal. Moving on. Start match. Usos versus the Dustbusters. I believe I had said I had the Dustbusters going over. They did go over. It was a good match. Both teams were executing very well. Very crisp moves. They all four men in that ring are extremely athletic, and especially like Goldust, a guy who's I think I think he's in his 40s now. If not, he's approaching it quickly. But for a guy that old, who's been in the business ever since like the mid to early 90s, he's doing really good, and I think he's probably in the best shape now that he's been in his whole career. Definitely found his stride working with Cody Rhodes, but it was a really good match. Like I said, they were both hitting really good athletic moves. The match ended with one of the Usos going up for their body splash finish, and then Cody put the knees up and countered, and then rolled up the Uso for the win, which I thought to be really interesting because I'm like, okay, well, they're trying to be the heel team. I guess it's kind of the heel way to win. I would have liked to see, if he could have picked him up and did like one of his finishers or something. It would have been much more interesting to see something like that. But I'm not going to complain. The match was good. It was a good match. Trying to go through the whole card in my head. I don't have the match card on. I'm trying to remember the majority of them. And then it went into Sheamus versus Cesaro for the U.S. title. Those guys had an outstanding match. It started off a little slow. They were using a lot of old school grappling wrestling, and then at one point you could tell these guys are just getting so comfortable with each other and in the ring that they were busting out moves they never moved. They had not used in the WWE yet. Like all these different grapples and slams, and both guys were challenging each other like physically, like come on. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually pretty intense. Not since like the old cheesy fight movies you'd see where they're egging the guy to come on and get him. But it had me hooked. And Cesaro and Sheamus, they were hitting everything clean, and it was spectacular. It was a really decent match, really good. I think I'd probably put that number 2 for the whole night. Excuse me. It was good. The Sheamus caught like a last minute bro kick out of the corner, got the win over Cesaro. I was like, okay, I can rest easy. Those two can work really well together. And I'm just realizing now I put the word really twice, the phrase really close together. So I'm going to work on that because that's really stupid. Anyway, moving on, I think, again, I don't remember the exact layout of the show. I'm doing this without looking at the setup for the night. The Intercontinental title match, they had Miz go over, which I wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to go back to this guy again. Okay, he's a company boy, not someone I have a lot of respect for. I don't particularly think he's a very good in-ring worker. I'm not to say he hasn't had a decent match here or there, but his Hollywood personality now is so boring, and it's just like it feels like it's The Rock back in 2004, 2003. It's just like I don't care. I'm not really invested. But the match went over fairly well. They didn't. Yeah, the match went over well. Miz got the dirty pin on Ziggler to win. And then tonight on Raw it was vice versa, and then Ziggler won it back, which I thought, I'm like, well, they did this last year, and that's how Miz lost the Intercontinental title. He won it at Mania and then lost it the following night on Raw to Barrett. So yeah, I love how that works out. Ugh. Anyway, fixing my skull hat. Uh, what else? What else? What else? What else? Obviously without Reigns there, they didn't have a Reigns Rollins match, which I was like, okay, well, they were talking. I was reading rumors for weeks about how this was going to be the night Ambrose comes back, and I'm like, okay, let's see how they do this. So they had the ref do a 10 count and forfeited the match to Rollins, and then he's like, I issue an open challenge to anyone. I'm like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this. They're crafty. They're crafty. And then you cut to a camera, and then the door opens up, and there's Dean Ambrose, leather jacket, jeans, and the whole place went nuts. I think that was the loudest pop of the whole night. He comes out to the ring, chases Ambrose all over the arena. He just destroys him. He needs to be taken out in zip tie restraints with security in order to get him away from Rollins. And I was like, that's cool. Looking forward to seeing, hopefully, at Hell in a Cell. Would really love to see, them market that really well. Ambrose, Rollins, Hell in a Cell, no escape. Rollins, you have nowhere to run. And I think that would probably have to be the last match between the two, because any further and you're running the risk of Ambrose getting cold, and with Reigns right now currently sitting out for who knows how long. They need to be careful on how to book everything now. But now, because he's out, plans change. Will he be ready to go before WrestleMania? Absolutely, because there were rumors running around that he was gonna. There were rumors that he was gonna be wrestling with Brock for the belt, and he was gonna take the belt from Lesnar at WrestleMania. But moving on. Let's see. Jericho and Randy Orton had a very, very good match. I'm just going to say this right now. I was a fan of Randy Orton when he started. I was a fan of his whole Legend Killer thing. I was even a fan when he was really tapping into his whole Psycho thing. But Randy Orton, to me now, he's a little boring to watch for my personal taste. So please don't take that as an insult. Please don't read into it that any more than it needs to. It's just that I personally find him a little boring in the ring, because it just feels like it's the same formula. Chokehold, punches in the corner, the occasional power slam or whatever. But that's not to say he's not bad. There's a difference between being boring and being bad. You could be boring on the microphone, but you can be talented in the ring, and Randy Orton is talented. Orton hit his top rope RKO. Again, I've seen it done on so many wrestlers before and done better, aka Evan Bourne. That was probably the best top rope RKO I've ever seen. But yeah, they had a good match. This was Jericho's going away match, I guess. So will he come back? Who knows? Maybe it's his time. Hopefully not. Would like to see him do another feud at least. Hopefully with a much bigger name. Triple Threat Divas match. I had Paige. Oh God, it's time for bed. I had I had Paige. Sorry, I had Paige defending, and yeah, that was. And it turns out all three of the girls had a very decent match. I wasn't really giving Nikki any credit, but she definitely held her own. She's proving to be a little bit more her worth than a lot of people give her. But she was doing really, really well. Had AJ come out to win with a Black Widow submission over Paige, having Paige tap out. So, yeah, that was also a really good match. The thing that hurt me the most, and I have less than a half a minute, so quick response on this, and then I'm going to get to my final detailed reason as to why Night of Champions could have been so much better. The finish. My pick was Brock Lesnar has the title by the end of the night. I was right, but he still lost. The company protected their golden boy by having the finish that they did. With that being said, everything they had been building up with Brock Lesnar since WrestleMania is now over. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. If you'd like to hear more of my in-depth opinion on that, check out my next video.